You will now see some gameplay from the new game mode Obliteration, which was recorded at the Gamescom 2013. To begin with, we are going to look at the vehicle loadouts of the new attack boats and the scout helicopters. In the first slot you see the primary weapons. You would have had the choice between a 25 or 30mm or a so-called burst cannon. Here we've equipped the 30mm, which, at least this is what we are expecting, is somewhat similar to an attack helicopter's main gun. In the second slot we've picked out the TV missile. You would have had the choice between rocket pods or a tow missile, which is of course a wire-guided missile. Moreover, we've equipped the IR smoke and the zoom optics, which is one of the two optics that attack boats can equip at this point. In the upgrade section we've equipped the belt feeder, somewhat similar to the autoloader of Battlefield 3 we expect. Moreover, there's a lot of camos for the boat. And here we are with the scout helicopters. Instead of the 7.62mm machine gun, we equip a 25mm gun pod as primary. In the second slot we of course use a guided missile instead of heat seekers. A new perk is the so-called Gyro Stabilizer, which, according to its description, helps to keep the vehicle stable in the air when it has taken a critical hit. This also gives a hint towards the new vehicle disable mechanics in Battlefield 4, which are unknown in their full functionality at this point. Alright, and here now we get to actually start and play the game. Here you can see how to spawn in vehicles. Click on the symbol on the minimap and then deploy. First of all, we're trying to use settings that we are accustomed to and know from Battlefield 3. This means we're cranking up the mouse vehicle sensitivity and we're turning down the network smoothing factor as much as possible since we're using the TV missile. And here comes the first TV shot on an enemy boat. Barely missed it, but with a slight delay you can see a small hit marker. Apparently we hit the boat. Second follow-up shot with the TV. Clean hit. Apparently boats can take up to 2 hits from TV missiles. You can see the 30mm gun in combination with the zoom optics. No screen shake. Works quite nice. Note the bullet drop of the 30mm projectiles, which is quite significant, so you have to aim relatively high to actually hit your target. Strangely, the launch point of the TV missile is not lined up with its camera's perspective. Whenever you fire a shot, the rocket actually fires from the tube at a higher angle. This strange behavior could only be observed in the Obliteration modus. In the Conquest 64 player modus this was no problem and the launch point was identical with the camera's perspective. Moreover, please note that you only carry a very small amount of ammunition. But the weapon damage of the 30mm against infantry looks quite nice, and it also comes with an appropriate splash damage radius. And here you go with another TV shot on a standing boat. As you can see, the TV actually hits a wave. The contact to the camera breaks off, but the rocket actually, like a torpedo, continues to travel on its way and actually hits the boat.
I spotted a hostile vehicle. Over.
Finally, the opponents start shooting back at us. We get hit by a tow missile, which does roughly 40 damage to us. We are disabled, meaning we are not able to maneuver anymore. So we're trying to at least kill the enemy heli when we're going down. And here now comes the classic, for all the friends of the TV missile, ghosting. So good. In all seriousness, we are not that optimistic that those ghosting effects will be gone for Battlefield 4, but we'll keep up the hope. We're continuing now with a fresh boat. You can see the range of the TV missile, which seems to be roughly the same like in Battlefield 3, 1000 meters, which is enough to shoot from the own to the enemy's spawn. In the background you can see enemy paratroopers that are most likely spawning on a beacon here.
I've spotted an enemy vehicle. Over.
A TV shot on an enemy boat. As you can see, the enemy infantry that are using the miniguns on the back of the boat are more or less unaffected by the TV missile splash. At least they're not dying. Interesting.
Yeah, I spotted an enemy soldier. Over.
The RPG that was fired at us here seems to be a lot faster when compared to the RPG's projectile speed of Battlefield 3. The ammunition capacity seems to be intentionally limited. After only fighting off 3 to 4 infantries, you've basically used all your ammo. Reloading all of it will take quite some time. Therefore, picking your targets becomes more and more of a strategic choice, because if you waste all your ammunition for fighting off infantry on the islands, an enemy boat might sneak up on you, and then being low on ammo, you stand less of a chance of actually winning that.
Enemy soldier spotted. Over.
Be advised, the new bomb has been located.
Please note that the infantry that is using the miniguns at the back of the boat seems to be unprotected from the 30mm splash damage. Since on this map Russians and Chinese are playing against each other, the scout helicopter that is used by both sides is the same, the Z-11W. The aircraft carriers that are used on this map look almost identical to those of Battlefield 3, with the difference of having escalators. Ship class seems to be the same though. As a side note, you now can already see the changing weather conditions. A tropical storm is rising up, but the flight behavior of the helicopter seems to be unaffected by that. The 25mm gun pods of the scout helicopter have quite nice splash damage and are very effective against infantry. When compared to the scout helicopter's anti-infantry performance of Battlefield 3, this is a clear improvement. Same thing goes for the overall maneuverability and agility of the scout heli. It is way better when compared to BF3. In the current version of BF4, spotting has become a lot harder, which means that you have to be bang on with your crosshairs to actually be able to spot an enemy infantry or vehicle. Practically, this means that you are more and more dependent on spots from your teammates or from the commander when compared to Battlefield 3.
Hey, I've spotted
The
an
attack
enemy
boat,
vehicle.
which is
Over.
immobilized on the beach, is way too heavily armored to actually be a relevant target for the 25mm gun pods. On the day before that, in the same game mode, we've used 2 guided missiles and 2 full magazines of the 25mm. After that, it still wasn't destroyed, so we cannot be bothered with this and we'll just leave it.
Hostile vehicle spotted. Over. Hostile vehicle spotted. Over.
Festival Gister i hostile vehicle.
And in the background you can see the burning destroyer hitting the island. Those level-changing script sequences are summarized as so-called levolution.
Enemy soldier spotted. Over.
Great job, man. Let's keep this up. Scouts are searching for new bombs. Stand by.
Enemy machine gunner spotted. Over.
The scout heli here is now hit by the miniguns of the attack boat, getting hit more or less, not causing too much damage, wasting a lot of time on the heli actually. In the end the damage indicator reaches a red color, but we're not losing the control over the heli, which seems to be the effect of the Gyro Stabilizer, which we have seen at the very beginning of this video. The changing weather conditions also lead to an increased swell, which make it a lot harder to hit targets with the zoom optics, but from the purely artistic standpoint, this looks great. And finally, some concluding thoughts and notes on the Conquest 64 mode, which sadly we were not allowed to record. Let's talk about the jets first. Again, the stealth jets seem to have a sweet spot when it comes to turning speed of 313. Slightly failing your speed seemed to be not as problematic when compared to Battlefield 3. At this point you can choose your jet's miniguns caliber, 25 or 30mm. Rocket-wise, only guided missiles have been implemented, but there's going to be 3 different types of air-to-air missiles with different ranges. At this point the heads-up display of the jets is anything but finished. The shots from the MGs landed a few centimeters above or below the crosshairs, so it was impossible to effectively engage ground or air targets. And as stated earlier, spotting from air vehicles has become a lot harder, so you're more and more dependent on getting spots from your teammates on the ground or from your commander to be actually able to help with the fight on the ground. In addition to that, the main guns of the mobile anti-air vehicles seem to be a lot stronger against jets at this point of the alpha, considering that boats and other vehicles now also can carry surface-to-air missiles. This seems to be like quite a nerf of the air vehicles' effectiveness against ground targets like vehicles and infantry. And now finally some very quick notes about the infantry gameplay, which was played on the Conquest 64 modus. Most weapons seem to have an increased recoil when compared to BF3. Head glitching is still possible, but not as critical as it used to be in BF3. But there has been quite some changes when it comes to the revive system. In contrast to BF3, where you could revive somebody within a split second, the paddles here now have to be rubbed against each other and charged. All in all, it just takes a bit longer. When comparing it to BF3, it takes you a lot longer to be able to use your weapon again after accepting a revive. All in all, those changes in the revive mechanic lead to revives being a lot less frequent when compared to BF3. But it is noteworthy that you still receive 100 points for reviving somebody. In the Conquest Domination 10 vs 10 modus, there were 2 weapons that were more or less hidden on the islands and which you then could pick up. One of them was the M82 50 cal sniper rifle and also a USS-12 with frag rounds, which had a damage output that was quite comparable to an LAV-25. On the islands you had barrels with explosive content scattered all over the place, and from those explosions and light effects you kind of felt like in a Michael Bay movie. Same thing, by the way, also goes for the sun, which still has a blinding effect that is the same or even worse than in Battlefield 3. Overall, the gameplay feels very smooth and precise, so even with all the negative criticism that could be heard in this video already, we would not be surprised if the infantry gameplay would only get some minute changes when compared to the alpha. The competitive show match, which we had mentioned at the end of our last quick tip video, sadly was not streamed, but the German team won it with 154-0 tickets against the French team. Recordings of that match are not public at this moment, but will be released as a part of a trailer in the near future.